Clear from Paxton, Illinois. Pulling up onto the line is a short wheelbase lightweight machine that was one of the very first of its type in USHRA Association racing. This is the one and only Melvin Brown from Uniontown, Ohio. The machine that he has always gone under the name of Blue Max. Now, interestingly enough, Melvin has recently put nitrous oxide injection on this 510 cubic inch Chevy engine, Shelley, and it has helped him a lot.
He's got kind of an unusual design there for his car.
It's a very, very lightweight machine, but as you can see, it's also a very short wheelbase. That makes it very hard to control in some mud pits. But with a preliminary run of 2.09 seconds, easily Melvin Brown's best for this distance. He is looking very, very strong at this event.
So a short track like this is probably advantageous for him.
Especially with the large cubic inch engines and nitrous oxide injection. If you leave it in first gear, you can develop just about as much horsepower as you could at the finish line of a long track. The big cubic inch machines definitely have an advantage on this short track if they leave at a high RPM. And so far, we've seen just about every one of them do just that. Melvin in the rather Spartan cockpit. Not the best of runs for Melvin. It looked like it was going to be a good run, but again, tire spin killed whatever chances he had of battling Tom Mintz on a head-to-head basis. Now, we will get a chance to see Melvin in his second vehicle, the Budweiser-sponsored Jeep Funny Car Mud Racer, as for the last couple of events, he has been campaigning both his old Blue Max and Rod Haverty's Budweiser machine. On the replay, you can see the tire spin that slowed the machine down. The mud being slung everywhere on this thing. The elapsed time, 3.86 seconds, far off of what he is capable of. A tremendous finish line shot there, though, of one of the best in the business at speed, locking up the brakes. We'll be back with more championship mud racing action from Evansville, Indiana, as the United States Hot Rod Association Mud Bog Championships continue in a moment. Hot Rod Association Mud Racing Championships at the Roberts Municipal Stadium in Evansville, Indiana. And on the starting line is an extremely impressive machine based on its performance in the preliminary round. This is the incredible Thunderin' Heart 1987 Jeep CJ5 of Mike Snee out of Lakeville, Indiana. Machine with a 454 cubic inch nitrous oxide injected Chevy engine that Shelley Herman ran 2.26 seconds last night. Oxide manifold explosion at the finish line, and it's a very simple problem that can do some pretty serious damage to the engine. Apparently he left the nitrous oxide system on as he shut the engine off. An intake valve hung open, and you hear those shotgun blasts out of the exhaust headers.
Well, that might be because it is this new motor, and he said that he's only run it once before and that it scared him to death. So maybe that was unanticipated for this evening.
Well, leaving the starting line, he also felt a lot of tire spin, but the elapsed time will be good enough for the number 2 spot, 2.77 seconds. And I got to tell you, Shelley, this guy is going to be one of our new superstars. This machine has been so strong. Mike Sneed's Thunderin' Heart.
He sure kept those tires up, too. Look at him.
It was a beautiful pass despite the initial tire spin. There you see the fire out of the pipes of that nitrous oxide explosion at the finish line. This is Tom Martin and Greg Stone with the Mud Patrol from Portage, Indiana. Shelley Herman, these guys are on top of the world right now, literally leading the national championship point standings.
But I understand this is the last time we're going to see this team working together.
That's true. Tom Martin and Greg Stone have been partners for a long time, but earlier we had a chance to talk to Greg Stone and Tom Martin about tonight's run. There's no question the dominating force in U.S. Hot Rod Association Super Modified Class Mud Racing has been the Mud Patrol, 1932 Ford from Portage, Indiana. The machine is normally driven by Tom Martin, but tonight co-driver Greg Stone will be behind the wheel. And Greg, you're pretty much known for some out the back door driving.
Well, yeah. Last night was a little bit interesting, and the car started bouncing a little bit on me, and had a little trouble stopping.
Well, you won the preliminary round with a tremendously quick elapsed time, 1.93 seconds, but this tonight's ride is going to be one of your last in this machine, isn't that right?
Yes, me and Tom's going to continue to run the car on his own. I'm going to be moving elsewhere in the country, so...
Well, we'll still see you on the U.S. Hot Rod Association trail with something, right?
Yeah, I plan to get back into it.
Well, I think one of the most tense guys at this event tonight will be Tom Martin himself, the man who we saw run 2 seconds flat at our last event, the first man under 2 seconds flat in a 100-foot pit. And Tom, Since the machine is in the points lead, and both of you are capable of accumulating points, this is going to be a little nervous moment for you tonight.
Well, he's never let me down before, and I got confidence in him.
The question is the machine up to it tonight?
Oh, it's definitely up to it.
Well, indeed, this particular trio, I should say, with the father and mother crew chief and Greg Stone behind the wheel, and of course Tom Martin looking on, will be the one to watch, as always, at USHRA Association Racing. Moving up to the starting line now, the nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected, methanol burning, 540 cubic inch Chevrolet engine in this 1932 Ford Coupe that during the preliminaries ran 1.93 seconds for the official win. You can see Tom Martin to the right side there, who has normally driven this machine. Greg Stone, a phenomenal crew chief in this sport, who is responsible for the performance of this vehicle, is now driving.
Tom is like an expectant father in a maternity room here. He's overseeing every last detail of this run because it's going to be the last one. He wants to go out a winner.
Well, the final handshake and everything else complete. Tom heads for safety, at least away from the slick mud. Greg Stone, crew chief and part-time driver in his last run in the Mud Patrol 32 Ford, looking for the #1 spot, the time to beat. Good pass, blasting across the finish line, locking up the brakes, and that will be a tremendously close run to Tom Mintz, 2.39 second run. Look at the crowd. They cannot believe the performance from this vehicle.
I don't think that Tom can either. He's running over there as fast as he can. I'm sure he's going to congratulate his partner over there.
Well, Greg is obviously thrilled with that run. Here we go with the meeting of the minds here down at the finish line shutdown area. I'll tell you, he is a happy young man. His last ride ever in this machine, saluting the crowd. What a ride. And indeed, like I said, it's going to be so close to that 2.39 second run that is leading right now for Tom Mintz's Shake Me 32 Ford. Look at the smile on this team's face, and they don't even know what the elapsed time is yet. Here's the launch. A lot of tire spin, but the front end up almost immediately. Beautifully straight run. Here's the elapsed time, 2.19 seconds. Good for the #1 spot again for the Mud Patrol team of Greg Stone and Tom Martin.
Way to go, guys.
Is Heath Mott. This is a 1977 Chevy Love truck that is actually street legal with the addition of mufflers. It's got headlights and everything in it behind the fiberglass grille. But interestingly, it's almost basically a street legal truck, Shelley. It's a small block 355 cubic inch Chevrolet. And I don't think anybody's anticipating 1 second elapsed times out of this machine, but I'll tell you what, he's got a crowd of people here pulling for him you wouldn't believe. Sitting patiently on the starting line, waiting for the green flag with the flagman. Now leaves the line. He's got forward momentum, and that's a start, doing his best to keep the machine going. The crowd is literally standing up for this kid. He has got a lot of fans here just to see the local racer inch his way towards the finish line. He's still got movement. It's starting to sink down, though, and he's only 5 feet from the finish line. He's still going to stay in the throttle, but there's the red flag.
Oh.
And as Heath Mott looks on, the distance on the run, 57 feet even. If nothing else, he'll be back. Evansville, Indiana, for more USHRA Association Championship mud racing. The Mad Mando utilizes a Chevrolet power plant, 454 cubic inch big block, but again, with bone stock tires, Hanner is just here to try and make it out of the pit, Shelley.
I'd sure like to see him do it, too. I like to root for the underdog.
I'll tell you, that would be quite an accomplishment. As tough as this mud has been for some of the supercharged machines, the 1,800-pound lightweights, if he could make it through this pit on bone stock street tires, it would be quite amazing. The personality aspects of mud racing is the different tread patterns these guys create on these tires. Leaves the starting line, and he's not looking real strong initially. A lot of tire spin way up in the RPM range. High enough to kill the drivetrain, unfortunately. You can see the smoke coming out from underneath the hood. That was a transmission problem for Hanner Gregory. But if nothing else, we just set a new RPM record for this event. That was a solid 11,000 RPM pass.
Now, that's 2 in a row now that didn't make it through the mud.
It's a tough break. Hanner obviously doesn't look real thrilled about that, and if nothing else, we may have to tow him. I'd be interested to see on the replay if indeed the tires were spinning at the speed that the RPM indicated, because like I said, that big block Chevy was singing. Here we see him leave the line. Initially, mud goes slinging everywhere. He never got any launch to speak of, and that thing's flying.
Yeah, what a shame.
Talking 120-mile-an-hour wheel speed on that one for Hanner Gregory before he finally dug in. Just a minute, you'll see everything stop. There we go. That was all she wrote.
This is the Mud Shark. And if you look closely, you'll see a few changes since the last time the Mud Shark ran. They've changed their wheelbase from 100 to 120 inches.
That's right, and earlier we had a chance to talk to Mike about the many changes in this machine for this event. Well, Mike, while you still own one of the most popular machines ever to hit a mud pit anywhere, it's going to be substantially different than in the past tonight.
Yeah, we've changed the suspension quite a bit, lengthened the vehicle out 20 inches, and narrowed the front axle, hoping to keep the tread width in the same pass as everybody else, more or less.
Well, with the longer wheelbase, it actually acts as a lever to give you a lot more traction off the starting line. But why the narrowed front while we're keeping the stock rear tread width?
The front axle we were running before was 10 inches wider than the rear axle, and that was causing us a lot of trouble with the wheel and tire combination that we're running.
Well, is that one of the causes of the car's rather radical performances that we've witnessed in the past?
That and the short wheelbase was a real problem.
Well, last night during preliminaries, you got into some ruts that took it out of bounds, or almost out of bounds, I should say, but it still seemed to run a lot straighter than normal. Possibly you'll be able to use a little bit more of that 1,400 horsepower you got?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I feel real good about tonight.
But obviously the Mud Shark hasn't been altered enough that we can't recognize one of the more popular machines ever built.
No doubt about that. You'll recognize it.
Mike Erderly, the Michigan Terror in the Mud Shark 1964 Chevrolet Corvette. Supercharged, fuel-injected, big block Chevrolet motivation with that new extended wheelbase we talked about, a new